Fake news caught in action. Hey everybody, Timcast here, and a video has started circulating showing what appears to be a staged car bombing in Baghdad. In the video, you can see a couple of guys drive off, a car explodes, and then a few seconds later, a bunch of people run in, fall to the ground, and start writhing in pain. Clearly, they were not caught in the blast. But what's interesting is that the AP, Daily Mail, and I'm sure many others have reported this story as true. The story is that a car bomb exploded in Baghdad near a popular fruit stand, killing 10 and wounding 34. But then this video comes out, and it looks like that story may not be true after all. Now, we can't verify for sure, but in the video you can see in the top right there's a timestamp, October 30th, 2016. So it seems possible that we have caught fake news in action. Here's what's important. It is most likely not the news organization staging this. I'm sure the journalists who filmed the incident were just as duped as everybody else. And it's hard to know what the motivations of the people staging the event are and who is even behind it. The main reason I want to talk about this video is because I cannot stress enough that the news stories you read every day are very likely not true. And I'll give you an example. Think about something that you are truly an expert in. When you read a news story about what you love and what you know, often it's wrong, and you look at it and you say, that's totally off. That's wrong here, here, and here. But then you turn the page, you click the link, and the next story you read, and you say, that's interesting. Someone told me that this was called the Newspaper Fallacy, that we tend to believe news stories when we read them until we come across a story in which we are an expert and we're confused and we know it's not true. But that should be a signal to us that the rest of the news probably isn't true either. Now, why is news fake? It's probably not some big conspiracy with nefarious actors. It's just that humans are incompetent. And right now, we are in a particularly dangerous time because media organizations are struggling to make money. And most writers, most of these articles you see are written by people who are just churning out 5 to 10 articles per day that they're not even researching. They're simply seeing an article somewhere and rewriting it. And that means through the game of telephone, the story is going to twist and go nuts. CNN recently did a story stressing the need for fact-checking and digging into these sources, read at least 3 articles about something before you share it or believe it. But CNN's been wrong too. Of course they have. We've seen a lot of bad news put out over the past few years. And there's no reason right now for us to believe that mainstream and corporate news entities are any more correct than any other stories we're reading. Oftentimes, for political reasons, news organizations are scared to talk about certain issues, either for fear of offending their audience or fear of offending their sponsors. That puts us in a really screwed up position where we really can't trust anything. But this is what news comes down to. Trust. At the end of the day, people are going to say, I don't trust this news outlet and I don't trust this journalist, but I do trust this journalist. And there's no reason any of them are more correct than any others. So people often ask me, how do you sift through the noise and how do you find out what's true? And I got to tell you, it is a full-time job. And it's really difficult because I don't expect the average person to be a journalist. I don't expect the average person to know everything that I know and have experienced. And that makes it a big problem when it comes to things like elections. There are good and bad things about both candidates, but most people are only going to trust news sources that confirm their bias. And that means we are further going to split, and that just means bad things for us as a whole. The only advice I can give you to sifting through the noise is to read many different sources. You need to be careful about filter bubbles and being put in an echo chamber. If you live in a big city, you are probably surrounded by liberals. If you live in a rural area, it is likely you are surrounded by conservatives, and that means the ideas you hear and the things that make up who you are will be in those bubbles. So you need to actively seek information in places you would not like to seek it. It's a lot of work, but it's really the only thing you'll be able to do if you want to be correct. If you appreciate what I do in trying to sift through the noise and bring you some accurate information, you can become a patron of mine and donate at patreon.com/Timcast. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe if you like these videos. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck out there. I'll see you all next time.